All of you know me. Today we have Lamonte McIntyre with us, and he's from the organization called Miracle of Innocence. Miracle of Innocence was co-founded by Lamont and Daryl Burton. I'll tell you a little bit about Daryl first, and then I'll introduce Lamont. Daryl was wrongfully convicted of murder in St. Louis area. He served 24 years before being exonerated and then was released. And that was in 2008. Lamont served 23 years for a double murder that he did not commit before being released. And I believe he can correct me after when he starts. I think he was released in 2017. And he is the one who has been featured the most recently because it involved, as most of you, if you read the Kansas City Star or watch Channel 5, you would be familiar with this. They've done extensive stories about Detective Roger Golubsky in Kansas City, Kansas. And Lamont was one of the ones that was essentially framed by Detective Golubsky. So he's going to tell you his story. He'll tell you a little bit about the organization itself, and then he'll tell you about himself. Also, in his case and that of, I don't remember the guy's first name, Coons, who is from prosecutor in Wyandotte County, who is also exonerated. And Coons and Lamont's cases together formed the impetus for Mark Dupree, who's the district attorney in Wyandotte County, to form originally it was called the Conviction Integrity Unit. Later was changed names a little bit to Community Integrity Unit. So welcome, Lamont, and you go ahead and start.
Nah, man. Thank you for having me. Yep. My name is Lamonte McIntyre. In 1994, when I was 17 years old, I was arrested for 2 counts of first-degree murder and convicted and sentenced to 2 life sentences. I served 24 years of that as sentence before I was able to prove that I was not the person responsible for those 2 murders, and that it was a cop named Roger Golubsky that was behind the entire thing. So uh, the time I spent in prison, I didn't understand and know that that was what was going on behind the scenes. I didn't know anything behind my wrongful conviction. So I learned that probably 2 years before uh, I was exonerated. So then I was exonerated in 2017. And then Valerie Burton and I formed Miracle of Innocence, where we help men and women get their innocence back, their life back. So we started an organization, and since then we managed to help 4 innocent people get their life back. We exonerated 1, and we helped 4 get out. We're still fighting for 3 to get their innocence back. So that's what we've been doing. Myself and Miracle of Innocence. That's what I've been doing since I've been out, and I've been out now 6 years. That's what I'm doing now.
And so tell us a little bit more about your case and how Golubsky was involved.
Oh yeah. So my case was in 1994, 2 people was murdered in Wyandotte County by a guy named Cecil Brooks. Well, not by Cecil Brooks, he was orchestrated by a guy named Cecil Brooks. And Golubsky was the investigating officer at the time. Um, but what we didn't know was Golubsky was working for the guy who orchestrated the murders. So when he showed up to the scene of the crime to investigate it, He had a picture of me, my brother, my cousin in the car with him, and he convinced these two witnesses to, he convinced me, threatened them to make me responsible for those two murders. So he threatened to take their kids away and all that. So he orchestrated the whole crime around me. But it all started with a relationship he tried to have with my mother. He sexually assaulted my mother years prior. She filed a complaint and tried to get away from me and was avoiding me. And I think that was the reason why, or motive, that he had me, my brother, my cousin before the lineup when these murders happened. So this whole case for me going to prison, me being convicted wrongfully at 17 was all orchestrated by a cop named Roger Galucci. And he had no motive. I didn't know him at the time. So his motive was probably just revenge on what my mother was doing, her filing some paperwork, what he was doing to her. I don't really know the story behind that, but I know that he orchestrated the whole thing. So the two people that were murdered, Galucci was working for the people who orchestrated the hits. Right now, Galucci has been indicted. He got indicted last year, and well, earlier this year, I'm sorry, and he out on bond. Got indicted again while he was out on bond with the guy who orchestrated the hit of me going to prison in the first place. So um, that's what my case is, and that's what ended up happening. And that took 23 years for me to prove. And I had to get Innocence organization in Citron Ministries, New Jersey, Princeton, New Jersey, to help me out with that. Did I get enough? Did you get enough of that? I got more. If you need more, I mean,
Yeah, go ahead and keep. You've got 20 more minutes.
I got 20 minutes. Let me get deep with it then. So listen. So I didn't know I had 20 minutes. So okay, when I was at the time I was 17, I knew nothing about none of this stuff. Lucy had already been doing what he was doing, so he was responsible for raping, kidnapping, even suspected of murdering women, black women in the community where I'm from. And he had tons and tons of victims. My mother being one of those victims. And at the time, I was a teenager, a kid, so I knew nothing about this. This stuff had nothing to do with me, and I wasn't connected to it at all. What happened was, Galuski had an encounter with my mother, and he had sexually assaulted my mother, and she reported it. Nothing happened, so she was. Now this all happened after me coming home. I didn't know nothing about this. Um, so she tried to get away from him and everything. This man kept harassing her, and she kept getting away from him. So one day, these murders happened, orchestrated by this drug dealer. Galuski was the person that showed up to investigate the crimes. Galuski was also a person that was always showing up to investigate crimes of dead people, still unsolved murders, people that's in the Wyandotte County in Missouri, there's victims. These people who lost their mothers, their auntie, their wives, their sisters to this person responsible for these murders, but yet no investigation was ever open. And he's been doing it for 30 years. He's been reporting this guy for 30 years, all the way up until me going to prison. You know, listen to these, he telling, tell, tell, they was, he went and brought to pay attention. Now, horrible about the victims. Roger the case got all the attention, and the victims who were victims before I even went to prison still are suffering because they seem like they don't get no justice. So Roger Galuski and the he didn't work alone. Here's another thing I want people to understand: when the dirty cop is that dirty in any community, he can only operate if he has a system to back him. So Roger Galuski wasn't by himself. He was one cop, one detective that would operate in the community like a villain. He left behind so many victims, my mother being one of them, and no one they swept it under the rug. This man was responsible for over 100 rapes, sexual assaults, strangulations, deaths, burnt bodies, kidnappings, child trafficking. I'm talking about whatever you can name, he was involved in. But you don't hear him talk about it. This is Roger Galucci, a cop in Wyandotte County. So all those victims out there and those kids, of those victims out there that still don't get no justice. They still looking at this man. This man is free, by the way. He was indicted twice, federally. This man's still free. He's free. How is that possible? So people ask me all the time what's going on. I say the same thing. I hate to report what I report because it's sad. It's sad. My mother was a victim. I was a victim. There's hundreds of more victims, and they all happen to be uh, people of color. There's one person. There's one cop. I'm talking about one cop was able to function like that over 30 years. So I spent 23 years in prison trying to fight that, trying to get my life back. I was a kid. I was a teenager. Him, the district attorney with the Terry Moorhead, these people orchestrated a wrongful conviction on a kid. I was 17. I want people to get an understanding of how important that is to see why you got people sitting in prison wrongfully, right? I was there for 23 years with a 17-year-old kid. I came home with a 41-year-old man. Roger Galewski, by the way, sent me. They were responsible for it. He didn't see a day in prison, a day in jail. This man is out on bond right now. So this is what I deal with. This is why Miracle of Innocence is important. This is why people that donate and people who support innocence organizations is important. This is why it's important to prosecutors. It's important to know who the prosecutor in your community. Uh, cops, not all the cops are bad, but I understand something. You have a dirty cop in a police force, and everybody's aware of it. Everybody's aware of it. 32. So it was a victim of not just a dirty cop, but a dirty police force. The whole thing was messed up, and that's just how it happened. Roger Galewski was the villain of the whole story, and it's right now. If you go look him up, it's people who brought a lawsuit, the victims. He's rightfully so. He should because this man was responsible for raping, killing, and hurting, and kidnapping, and torturing a lot of women for a lot of years. So somebody should be here responsible for that. And this is what our society is built on, the laws, right? You break a law against the laws, any man and woman in this society, there's penalties for it. So Roger Galewski should have to pay the penalty for every law he broke against society. And my heart goes out to all those victims. I promise you, my heart goes out to all those victims, Roger Galewski, everybody who he hurt, everybody who was hurt by him. I deal with it every day. I watch my mother still try to put her life back together after dealing with something like that. I was in prison for a long time and didn't even know that was going on. So my heart goes out to those victims of Roger Galewski. It's a horrible person. I'm telling a story. I'm trying with we got a book coming out, Pantheon Coalition. I'm going to tell the whole story. I want people to know who it is. I want people to know what's going on, how it happens. Wrongful convictions is real. A lot of people that's sitting innocent in prison right now because somebody lied on them or some witnesses came up and rendered false testimony. Cops do lie. District attorneys do have their stats. They do send innocent people to prison. All district attorneys are bad, but right now we're bringing awareness to it. We're talking about it right now. I have the platform to do it. Not only we talking about wrongful conviction, but we talking about what happens after a wrongful conviction. There was a lot of psychological stuff, a lot of emotional stuff, a lot of stuff on a personal level. But we formed Daryl and I formed Miracle Innocence that help with wrongful convictions. There's a law passed, a compensation law to help those wrongful convictions. In Kansas, there was no wrongful conviction law. Help those people. No compensation. Came home. 2018, there was a law passed that would help wrongfully convicted people, men and women, getting out of prison. They would help them $65,000 a year for every year they were wrongfully convicted. And housing. It's another thing that came from all this. So some things that came from it. It was things that I created that came from it. There was no good that Roger Galewski did. There was no good that the state of Kansas did. There was no good that nobody else did. So I understand that people talking about it. If you want to be involved with what we do at Miracle of Innocence, you can go to miracleofinnocence.org, contact us, be a volunteer. You want to help out with wrongful convictions and see what we do. see how it's behind the scenes. But the truth of the matter is it takes a long time to get one person out. I'm here in front of you talking. I've spent 20 years in, but it took me 18 years, 16 years in the process of finding an innocence organization to listen to me, hear my case, at the time I got out. So I corresponded with the innocence organization, which is Centurion Ministries. Shouts out to Centurion Ministries. Um, Corresponded with them for 8 years before they took my case. And then they took my case in 2009, and it took another 8 years before I got out. So the wrongful conviction process is a long, tedious process. Um, so for all those support, I wouldn't be here without the support of Innocence Organization, of all those supporters of Innocence Organization. So the Innocence Organization movement is a very important movement. Brother and I started Miracle of Innocence after I came home 6 years ago. We were helping 4 people get out. We exonerated one, Keith Carnes, exonerated of ours. We helped free. And we continue to do that work because of wrongful conviction and dirty cops. So all those people want to support, once again, is miracleofinnocence.org. If you want to be a supporter, if you want to go and support us any kind of way, see what we're doing, how it works with an innocent case. One innocent case, on average, it takes 300,000 to support one innocent case because of how long it takes to free an innocent person. It took me 16 years to get out of it. It took Daryl Burton, my counterpart, to what, 18 years of process to get him out. So these cases takes a long time, and it's always a good idea to try to stop innocent, a wrongful conviction, and that's the side we on. We don't want to see innocent people go to prison. We don't want to see innocent men and women go to prison. So we leaning towards the part of trying to prevent it. And so we bring so much attention to it. And so we talking about the innocent. We talking about the district attorneys and stuff here. We talk about the cops that play dirty. We talk about even the judges who allow it in the court. So all these things need to be brought to public's attention, and that's what we're here to do. Miracle of Innocence, Centurion Ministries in Princeton, New Jersey. That was an organization that was responsible for getting me out. All those people who's been helping the Innocence Organization, I appreciate you guys. If you want to know about the Roger DeLucci case and what's going on with that, you can Google Roger DeLucci or Lamonte McIntyre for that matter. Right now, he got on bond. Everybody kept asking me about what's going on with Roger DeLucci. Yes, he got on bond, and he's been indicted twice. Court dates coming up this year, 2024. We expecting that. We want to see justice done. We want to see what it looks like when cops, they shouldn't get immunity. Cops and district attorneys shouldn't get immunity. I think that's the reason why people keep using its power and abusing it, because there's no repercussions behind what they do. I think all district attorneys who don't abide by the law and abide by the office they're appointed to, all cops who sworn oath to hold the law, if they don't abide by those oaths and law and those oaths they take, I think they should be held accountable. Everybody else, and they got this immunity law to protect them from that. And I don't think that's cool. Because look what happened. They took a 17-year-old kid, and they took, this man had no idea what I went through in that situation, nor do he care, because they knew I was innocent when I was going through it. And they was convicting me, and they had me on trial, bringing these 2 little scared girls, forcing these women to say I was the person responsible for these 2 murders I knew nothing about. Who knew I was innocent when they was convicting me. I don't think y'all understand how diabolical that is, because I'm not the only person they convicted like that. There was 2 other people that was in the same prison like me, Richard Jones and Roy Bledsoe. 2 innocent people got out before I did. I got out. They got out 2 years later after they did. We was all in the same prison. That means wrongful convictions happens a lot, and it's been decimated at 1 out of every 3 people you see walking around in the yard of prison is going to be innocent. And I know that's a hard number to swallow, but it's a lot of people. It's like out of 20 million people that's incarcerated in the United States, 20,000 of them is innocent. It's a lot of people. So as you can see, Miracle of Innocence is very important. We help innocent men and women out of prison. So if you want to be a part of that, miracleofinnocence.org. Okay. If you want to see what's going on with the Roger DeLucci case or the Lamonte McIntyre case, you can Google that. You can go online and see it. All this is public knowledge. hard to believe there's a person out there that raped and tortured, kidnapped a bunch of black people for 30 years, and it's still walking around like there's nothing going on. It's real. It happened. Uh, and if you want to be a part of that, you want to be a part of it any kind of way, advocate for it, or any kind of way, go online, Roger Galuski, look it up, and see how you can be a part of it. If you want, if it's disgust you enough and you want to do something about it, to stop it. Be here for it. Miracle of Innocence, I got out 6 years ago, and I did something about it. It was difficult for me to still talk about what I went through and still deal with that when it was so fresh in me. The wound was fresh. I'm sick in prison. I lost a lot in prison, and I don't talk about it like that, but I did. I was disconnected from my family. I came home estranged to my family. I went in as a 17-year-old baby. I was a baby because I was not understanding life at the time, man. Came home as a 41-year-old man, still not understanding life. So I started my life at 41. So for a person who don't understand what a wrong conviction is, that means a person that's been having a 20-year advance of head start of doing whatever they wanted to do. I get out and I'm around the people who have 20 years of experience over me, and I'm starting life over. I'm 41-year-old man. I feel like everybody that's responsible for wrongful convictions definitely should be convicted of that. I think that's a crime. I think I'm talking about even the witnesses, the false witnesses who go up, get on the stand. I don't care what the district attorney say to you. I don't care what the officers say to you. I think if a person, they're a false witness against you and they get on the stand and they testify against you, they should be held accountable too. Not only them, the police that filed the report, the district attorney that went with the conviction, the judge that presided over the case. All those people had a hand in watching a 17-year-old man go to prison. And then when I got there, the things I had to do just to survive. I got so sick and stressed, I caught cancer I caught shingles in prison. My immune system get away from me. 2 years in prison. I was so stressed out because I had no I was sitting and happened for 23 years. So what I'm saying is wrongful convictions, as much as people don't like to talk about them and people ignore it, it's a serious thing. People reach out every day behind somebody in prison wrongfully, and I've been there. A lot of my friends hung themselves and killed themselves because of that situation. Another one of my friends recently just hung himself again in that situation. It's like 2 weeks ago. So wrongful convictions, the people that's responsible for wrongful convictions. Anybody who thinks this is a serious thing is overlooking a serious matter. And it's organizations all around the world. I'm not doing this, and I'm not going to start an organization to get nothing out of it because there's nothing in it. It's people that can't speak for themselves, can't walk for themselves, can't go to research for themselves is in prison. And unfortunately, I'm one person. I can't help every situation. So we started an organization that can help. And unfortunately, we ain't big enough. So we volunteers to come on so they can help. And unfortunately, that ain't enough. So we got to hire people to come on and help. And we just keep growing. And we keep growing because we got to keep getting innocent people out of prison. Shouts out to Keith Carnes. Our first exoneree, we got out. We don't talk about that much because he didn't want nobody to talk about it, and he felt some type of way about it on a personal level. This is what wrongful convictions do. Every wrongful conviction, everybody who got out, my heart goes out to you because I know what your battle is, I know what you deal with, and I'm sorry that you had to go through that. And there's nothing we can do besides keep moving and stay positive and stay focused on what tomorrow is, not what yesterday was. And if anybody want to be a part of that, miracleofwitnesses.org. See what we're doing. I'm gonna keep everybody posted on what we're doing. We got our podcast with my podcast on everything, YouTube, TikTok. I'm gonna keep y'all posted up on the Roger Galucci thing. Look for a book. A book is coming from me. A book is happening. Pantheon, shouts out to Pantheon Publishing. We got a book deal. And the book is on the way. Rick Tolsky co-wrote the book.
Tell us the
Look up
name of
Rick
the book.
Tolsky. The name of the book is Injustice Time. Yeah. I don't think I'm supposed to get the name of the title away yet. So just act like I just say that. I don't know if it is or not. So I don't know. See, look, they be so hush hush with everything. I'm ready to let it go. I'm so excited about it because you'll be writing this book on this book. Me and Rick Tolsky. Look at Rick Tolsky. Rick Tolsky is a award prize winning writer, journalist. He's been wrote for every publication you know. Everybody know Rick Tolsky is, but we've been working on this project since 2016. The year before I got out of prison, Rick came to see me while I was in prison. So we started to put together this body of work since 2016. So the book is going to be detailed, descriptive, all the way down. Everything I didn't speak about, I couldn't speak about, it's going to be in this book. It's going to be pictures, foreseen, everything in this book. It's my life in prison. Everything not just my life in prison, but behind the scenes, my emotional up and down from it, my psychological, everything I went through, my up and down. I went through stages of that. I spent my 20s, late teens, my 20s, and my 30s, and my early 40s in prison. So I speak about stages, all the stages of my life that I went through in prison, and how we formed Miracle of Innocence, and all the corruption that goes on that went on in Wyandotte County in the 90s that nobody talked about, nobody heard about. The book is going to be so descriptive, and people going to not want to put it down because they're not going to believe that this stuff really happened. Everything's going to be in that book. It's going to be 100% facts. I'm not adding to the imagination on this book. It's really going to be a book that detailed to the T. That's why we got all the documents. We got everything we need to tell the most accurate story we can with no embellishment. So look for that. Pantheon Publishing. Yeah, Lisa, she dope. Look her up. She's a good publisher at Pantheon. She dope. And yeah, Pantheon Publishing. Rick Toski. I like that. The story will be told. So um, the story will be told. For everything I can't say or couldn't say, the book will say it. Uh, most of the proceeds of the book go to Miracle of Innocence. But we're gonna continue to help men and women get out of prison who don't belong there. Every minute, wrongful people. Everybody's watching this who have a wrongful person that's in prison that shouldn't be there. That's been wrongfully convicted. Um, don't give up on your peoples. Peoples gave up on me. They didn't mean to. My mother never gave up on me. So I had a mother who with me and rolled with me. So shouts out to Rose. But don't give up on your peoples. They say they're innocent. You should believe them and work with them and help them out. It's a hard thing trying to fight an innocent case from in prison. I became my own lawyer in prison at 17. I became a pro se lawyer because the lawyers gave up on me. So it's hard trying to learn law. You can't learn law. All the motions I was filing, petitions I was filing, desperately trying to get out of prison. People don't know what that is. I was way out of my league. So don't give up on your people in them situations. I know it's difficult. I know it's hard. I know it's hard for people out here. I'm glad my mother didn't give up on me, is all I'm saying. And people should be grateful that they got anybody in life to treat their life that. So shouts out to my mom. So that's the only reason why I'm here. And she didn't give up on me. She fought for me with me. And yeah. Mama Rose, I love you.
Lamont, can you tell us a little bit about Daryl Burton's background and what his case was involved? And also if you know anything about Coons or Bledsoe.
Yeah. Well, Coons and Bledsoe, I was in prison with Coons and Bledsoe. I was a barber. We lived in the same pod, same unit. They was both quiet. Coons was quiet guy. He didn't go to the yard much. He stayed to himself a lot. Bledsoe was a funny guy. He always used to talk and speak and do speaking engagements in prison. So I knew he was going to be a speaker, some motivational speaker type when he got out. Daryl Burton. That Daryl, man, is my brother. I met Daryl while I was in prison. Daryl Burton and I share a parallel story because his lawyer was my lawyer. The innocent organization got him out, got me out. Daryl Burton spent 23 years in prison. I spent 24 years in prison. I spent 23 years in prison. And when I was in prison at the last of my case, the last ending of my time, I was speaking to my lawyer and she told me the only person who could understand what I was going through at the time was Daryl Burton because that was her lawyer at the time. I mean, her client at the time. His client, yeah. So I reached out to Daryl as a stranger and I spoke to him while I was in prison. And he was scheduled to come see me on a Saturday to do a speaking engagement in Lansing Correctional Facility where I was housed at. And the Saturday that he was speaking, someone got killed. on the yard, so I couldn't go to the auditorium where he was, and they had to rush him out, and then we couldn't get to the yard where he was. So I didn't get a chance to see him. So I got out 8 months, 9 months after that incident. The first person I saw when I walked out the courthouse, I'd be like the third person I saw when I walked out the courthouse, like Earl Burt. And he hugged me, and the first thing he whispered in my ear was, "Man, we gotta do something about these innocent men and women, man. We gotta get these people out of prison." First thing he said to me, he said, "All I need is somebody to help me." And I said, and I'm talking about, I had just literally walked out the courtroom, and I was like, "I got you, man." I don't know what I was thinking. I took on a lot. I don't know what I was thinking. I promise you don't know what I was thinking. It sounded like a good idea at the time, because I was like happy to be out. But then I didn't know what kind of battle was this pace going towards it. I was happy that we did it, and that's how our relationship formed. The girl's story was like mine. He was a wrongful convicted guy who was mistakenly identified as a person he wasn't. They made these people identify him. Same case, wrongful, dirty cop, uh, false witness, and he spent 24 years of his life in prison because of murder robbery. And we've been home now 11 years, and I've been home now 6. And we both are passionate about seeing innocent men and women come home. We know what it feels like. When we got Keith Carnes went into the prison, we filmed it. Now that we got it all on tape, I went into the prison, and to see him come out, to see him hug his mother, I felt like I was being released all over again. I know what that felt like. I know what that felt like, and I wanted to have that feeling all over again. So now I'm chasing this high of seeing people come home, and I want to see them come home. I know what that feels like, and I want to relive that moment over and over again if I can, vicariously through people. And and that's what it was like. So to see him come home, and Ralph McElroy, Brandon Chandler, and to see these people walk out of prison, knowing they shouldn't be there, it's just a feeling I can't explain. So Miracle of Innocence, Dale Burton, Valerie Burton, uh, that's what we live for. That's what we're doing now. That's why it's important that we do this work. And Daryl Burton is a person that devoted his whole life and his energy to it. Man, him and his wife don't sleep doing that. They are the heart of that organization. They don't sleep with it. They eat it, sleep it, breathe it. Miracle of Innocence is a very, very important organization because Daryl Burton and I both know how important it is to see innocent people come on. We the only organization of its kind, by the way. We the only organization exonerated led that understands from both sides what it's like to be wrongfully convicted. So we not only help people come home, we want to help them get their life together. We want to help them with comprehensive care. We want to help them with everything else after. We can't do everything. We want to be able to do what we can, and that's what Daryl Burton is. So anybody want to know Daryl Burton? Daryl Burton, the preacher, he preached at the Church of Resurrection in Leewood, and that's my co-founder, Miracle of Innocence.
Can you tell us a little bit um, about the effect that this had on your family, if you had children as well? I know when Daryl first got out of prison, he spoke at the law school at UMKC, and his daughter spoke then too at the same time. And it was just very passionate and eloquent how the effect that that had on her as well as him.
Well, when I was younger, I was 17 when I didn't date. I didn't date when I went to prison, so I didn't know I was gonna one day wake up and not be free. So I didn't date. So when I was in prison, I met my wife. Where I met her in prison while I was on visiting. We ended up getting married while I was in prison. I was like 26. I ended up getting divorced from her because I thought I was coming home. I was in prison, and then 12 years later, we rekindled. 2 years before I came home, we got married. I mean, 2 years before I came home, we got together again. I got out in 2017. I got married in 2018. What I didn't know was I brought everything that was broken with me in that marriage with my wife. So she got all the low vibrational into me. Everything that experience put on me as a trauma, my wife experienced it. So I didn't know how to, at the time, relationships, I wanted to be alone and with somebody at the same time. I'm still like that. the psychological effects of prison is a lasting one because I spent 23 years doing something. Then I got out and everybody expected me to do something different. And I don't know how I was able to do that when I was programmed to just do what I was doing. Slept on a cot for years. Hard cot. So now I like hard beds. I sleep on the corner of the bed or, whatever habits I got. It's not, you can call it institutionalized, you can call it whatever, but I still like being alone. But I don't like being alone at the same time, you know? So my wife got the worst end of that. So my relationships is horrible. I can't have relationships because I like being alone too much. And my family, being strange to my family, they did nothing wrong. My family, shouts out to my family. I love my family. I promise you, I sincerely love my family. They did nothing wrong. I just grew up without them. I grew estranged from them. I had all these experience, all these trauma experience. I had all these things that they know nothing about. Like I was going through the worst kind of stuff in prison for years, and they knew nothing about it because they was all living their life. Then when I got out, they wanted to rekindle and act like nothing happened. I was somebody different. They were strangers to me based on what I've been through. I wasn't mad at them. I wasn't upset with them about it or nothing. I just didn't know them. And I felt strange being around them. That's what being estranged from a person means when you take them from your family and you raise. My family was in prison. All the people I love and care about was the people I was raised in prison. Lockett, that's my boy. That's my family. That dude gave me my first kick when I was in prison, my survival kit. You understand? Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we need to take a quick break for a minute. We're going to
Yeah.
pass the basket around for people to donate to the forum. And then as soon as we do that in about another minute, we'll do questions and answers section. If you have a question, come up here. Make sure you talk into the mic. I'll turn it to this side so you can talk into it. All right. Sure.
I'm good, man.
Wow. And for those watching the live stream on YouTube, if you have a question, we'll monitor it. Go ahead and put your question in the chat, and then we'll relay that to Lamont. Okay, we do have a question here. Oh,
Oh, okay. Picture my dog.
okay. So we do have a question here.
Hello, and thank you for being with us. Uh, my question is, given the enormous resources of money and time and effort, how does your organization identify and select somebody that would be innocent and imprisoned to put all your effort into? I know the cliche, anyways, is everybody in prison is innocent, but uh, given that as you said, about 10% are, how do you identify those that you're going to work with? Thank you.
No problem. Good damn favor. Well, that's a good question, man. So when the organization let a person expressing and giving you an outline of their case, the good thing about wrongful conviction, the only good thing about wrongful conviction is the paper trail, man, the documentation, document everything, right? So if you start with sending paperwork, these paper trails, right? Here's It can be a police report. It can be a written paper. It can be anything. All this stuff has to be consistent. So going through the development process, we have a development team to bring all the letters that come in, and then we follow the paper trail based on what they say. We get looking into their case, and everything is going to line up with Innocence, or everything is going to line up with you based on just the paper trail. You can prove it based on, it's not about what you know, it's about what you can prove. I learned that with law. You can be innocent. And I was innocent, filing motions for years saying I was innocent. God, y'all, I was saying I was innocent for years. My dog has been getting acting up. Um, but it don't mean nothing. And I learned that in the court of law, it's not what you know, it's not what you can prove. And come here, I'm putting you up. Stop. I'm sorry. Come here. You gotta get up. Very welcome. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Yeah. So it's the process. Our legal we got a development team that goes and screen every letter, and then we go through the process of looking at the paperwork. Just like someone did in my case. And this was Black Hanford, and there's sent in my case, my letter saying I was innocent, and then I sent in paperwork. It took them 8 years to get enough paperwork, evidence gathered to see a trail of being to an innocent person, for them to be able to say, okay, we got this case. We did that for Keith Coons. We got his case, arrived at our desk, and we followed the paper trail. All signs lead to his innocence was on paper. So we followed it. We took his case based on that. And that's every case we selected. We don't just pick cases, and a lot of cases get denied. A lot of cases don't meet the merits, don't meet the qualifications of our organization. And we hate turning our cases down because we know that every person that writes a letter in is potentially innocent. And a lot of people who do write in is not innocent, who just want to get out of the situation. The majority of the key people who write letters to innocent organizations to be innocent. I wrote to hundreds of organizations. For one, decided to take my case. A lot of them denied me, decided to meet the criteria. So it's a process. It takes years.
Where are you living at now?
I'm living in Arizona now.
Okay, so are you working with people who are potentially innocent in other states like Arizona, or are you limited to the Kansas cases?
We're now we limited to where our resources can reach. So we in the Midwest right now. We're between Kansas and Missouri. So most of our exonerees right now came from Missouri. But if we didn't took cases, we got two is just we right now we more focused on where our resources can reach. Basically, we are a new organization. We've been up 6 years now, and it's a challenge when it's ran by exonerees, you know. But it's a fun experience because we understand what the end result is. So yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about, as I mentioned at the beginning, that partly because of your case and another case that Dupree started the Conviction Integrity Unit. How do you see that as playing out? Is it working? Is it accomplishing anything? And tell us what your feelings about that.
Take on it. Well, Pete, right? Pete was an innocent person that was in prison when I was in prison. I didn't know Pete was innocent. Pete was just a cool guy because Pete can go around telling everybody he was innocent, whatever. I get out of prison. There was no integrity unit, no uh, conviction unit in place, right? Based on what happened to me, the integrity unit was formed. They started looking at those cases. They reviewed the case, Pete Coon's case, and they realized, oh, there's an innocent guy there. He got his life back based on that integrity unit. So why would people question it? It works. Person was free. innocent person, and then man, he lost his life from stressing and catching cancer like most people do in them situations. He lost his life, rest in peace and Pete. He lost his life after he got out. But the integrity unit worked because it keeps the convictions in check. Most of those convictions is wrong. They're not accurate. So the integrity unit was put in place to keep those convictions above board, to keep them honest, right? So I think what Dupree did with the integrity unit was good. It produced something. Before Mark Dupree, there was never no, in the history of where I'm from, in Kansas, you didn't see an innocent person ever released or exonerated, which means there's a lot of innocent people who probably died in prison who never got out. Mark Dupree came home, not saying that, I mean, he came on board, and two innocent people came out of prison. That means something's working. So if someone's going against that, I don't understand why. I'm not for the man. I'm for justice. I'm on the side of that. So if something's working, if the man wouldn't have got his life back had that integrity unit not been formed. So it works when it's supposed to or when people want it to. I'm all for it.
We got another question here from another person.
Yes, thank you for coming today. I have a question about cleanup. And with the Wyandotte County situation, from what you have talked to us about today, this is not new news. It may not be um, well appreciated in the community, but from your perspective, this is not new news. There's been dirty things going on for a long, long time. So, my question is, what evidence do you have today that there's any cleanup process happening? Because when I saw the movie Stoplight a few years back about the sexual abuse that was rampant in the Catholic organization, at the end of the movie, there was a scrolling of all of the people, all of the priests who had violated people. And is there any such list going on around the Wyandotte County identifying persons who have broken the law and are still roaming around without any real consequence?
Uh, yeah. So everybody in the era of me going to prison in that era, in the late 80s, early 90s, that whole police force was uh, their moral standards because they allowed so much corruption to go on for so long. Like um, the change I have seen change because before, you know, the first person exonerated in the state of Kansas ever. That's history we made there. So that was progress. And another person came out by way of the integrity unit that was formed after that. That was progress. There was no compensation law before. Now there is. That was progress. Uh, there's another law. The people may not know about this, but my mother was responsible for a law getting passed, right, in Kansas that says now it's illegal for police officers to use their authority for sexual favors and stuff like that. Look that law up. People don't even know that law exists, but a lot of stuff didn't happen in terms of change since that happened. Like, when have you last time you seen a cop being indicted twice? So it's happened right in front of us. It's just whether or not they go through with it, whether or not the people, the voices, the people, we are, you know, the people is the people, right? If the people want to see justice, they're gonna have to move and assemble and do things like they want to see it. They got to keep talking about it. They got to be so raged about it that they're showing up to courts and they doing something about it, talking about it. They sharing the story, letting everybody know that this stuff happens. And if we don't, here's the truth: if he was reported years ago and they went through with the reports on him years ago, I wouldn't make a victim. No, I wouldn't make a victim. The person that was responsible for the murders, he went on to kill other people. That means no one really, the justice system is not really built on that. Who cares? Apparently, they don't care. Because they knew who the real killer was. They didn't go looking for the real person who was really responsible for it, because he was working for the person who orchestrated. Think about this. The person who orchestrated the murders on my case hired the person to kill these people. They all knew who this person was, even the cop. Everybody knew who this person was. So the wrongful conviction wasn't an accident by way of the state. No, it was an intentional. I'm smart. They intentionally did that. Wrongfully convicted as a kid. And they knew the real man knew who the person was responsible for the murders. They knew that. They orchestrated. So
Lamont,
yeah.
you had mentioned that the prosecutor in your case was Tara Moorhead, and I just thought I would update people on that. When she left the Wyandotte County District Attorney's Office, she went to work as an assistant prosecutor for the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of Kansas. And subsequently, after all this came out, I've lost track of time, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, she was essentially fired by the U.S. Attorney's Office. So that's where she's at now.
We have a YouTube question
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
A couple of things. Let me make this one to one question. Are you going to have an event or where you could be personally met at some point in the future? And then the second part of that question is where are they going to be able to buy your book?
The book is gonna be everywhere. You can be able to buy the book on Amazon, on my site, your site. The book gonna be all over the place. I'm gonna have that book on places that people don't even think about putting the book. The book gonna be everywhere. But in terms of speaking, I'm everywhere. Anytime I'm invited to speak, if you have an engagement or you have room or time to invite me in any kind of places, I'm always open to go to churches, libraries, colleges, lawyer functions. I mean, Georgia's conferences, legal dinners, banquets. It don't matter what it is. I come and speak in all engagements. So right now I'm just freelancing. I go by wherever Valerie Burton tells me to go. She really orchestrates my whole thing. Shouts out to Val. Val been keeping everything together for us, a miracle of innocence. And wherever Val tells me I gotta go and people want me to be, I'll be. So if you want to see me, you want to be have me at any one of your functions, church, I don't care where it is, schools, any kind of schools, colleges, just reach out to me. You can find me at McIntyre Free. Um, my last name, free is in freedom, at Gmail. And yeah, that's McIntyre Free, as in freedom, and at Gmail. And I'll be there.
How often
Michael,
do you come back?
Mike, you already know. Shouts out to Michael Buchnell. Basile. I mean Basile, my man. I'm here. My man Michael's there.
How often do you come back and speak in Kansas City?
I'm there a lot. I live in Arizona, but I'm really in Missouri a lot. I'm in Missouri a lot. So that's where Miracle of Innocence. That's where my barber college, where we got 30, 40 students there. Headline Barber Academy. I got a barbershop, off the top barbershop. And so I'll be there a lot. Most of my business is there.
Do you have any closing thoughts? Do you want our group to know about, or also this is rebroadcast on KKFI? So if there's anything you want listeners from KKFI to know about.
Well, I appreciate KKFI giving me the time. It was, that's that here, but that's also we can do a lot with numbers. Uh, 6 years in prison, uh, and at this position in my life. So the more we give, the getting it.
And one last
Me,
question.
top.
Does your organization work with Midwest Innocence Project and the KU Innocence Project too? Oh. All right. So I guess we lost him. Oh, all right. So he's back. Yeah, Lamont.
I'm here.
The last
Hear me?
yeah, the last question I had, which would be the last, is does your organization work with Midwest Innocence Project and the KU Innocence Project too?
Nah, we don't work with Midwest Innocent Project. No, nothing against Midwest Innocent Project, but my lawyer, the thing is, my lawyer, Cheryl Pilot, and Lindsay Reynolds is a part of MIP, and they were hired. They were instrumental in getting me out of prison, hired by Centurion Ministries at the time. So Midwest Innocent Project didn't have nothing to do with me getting out there. I'm not connected with them. That was a big misconception. Everybody thought MIP had something to do with me getting out, and that's a big misconception. Centurion Ministries in Princeton, New Jersey, is responsible for getting me out of prison. Kate Germain and Jim McCluskey, those two people are responsible for me getting out. Those are the people who put up so much energy, time, and efforts to seeing me come home. So I don't, and UMKC, we support UMKC. They supported me. A lot of students. Yo, shouts out to all the students at UMKC because they came through. All those grad students, they came through a lot for me. So I support UMKC right now. And MIP, they ain't got nothing against MIP. MIP is just doing what MIP do. They just do some, to me, they do immoral things I don't like. I can speak about it because I'm honest about who I am and what I do. I don't do the immoral things. I don't play like that. So
Right. For those who are listening to this on KKFI and who have just joined, you've been listening to the presentation at the All Souls Forum. Our guest has been Lamonte McIntyre. Lamont is one of the co-founders of Miracle of Innocence, an organization working to help free wrongfully convicted inmates. And Lamont was one himself who was exonerated after spending 23 years in prison. Thank you, Lamont.
thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. Y'all be peaceful.